similar to masculinity, how would we define femininity? What is that?
Well, I mean, I think I went over that when I kind of defined both. Femininity is just more of the nurturing. Is the first word that comes to mind for me.
Right.
Family oriented, more emotion based decision making, being more in touch with yourself, less physical, and taking care of people. And that's these are traits that are stereotypically associated with women.
Yeah.
Because of that's going back to the classic form of the family and society. That's how it worked in most cases. And so now, it's much more common, I think. Like we were saying, same thing with masculinity and femininity. I think it's the same thing. And I'd like to just lead this into a discussion on gender roles as a whole. And I think we've touched on it a little bit at this point. I feel like there's a really negative connotation with gender roles. And I understand to some extent that we're saying that it's okay for men to do the cooking and cleaning and staying home. And maybe defining it to a specific gender isn't the right way to do it. But I think that what's getting lost is that the roles are still important to have in a relationship.
Yeah.
And whether that be, a couple or like a friendship or a partnership in any way, the masculine roles and the feminine roles are still important. It doesn't matter as much who's taking them over, but you don't want two people in a relationship that are completely emotional and can't really take care of themselves or protect themselves. Totally feminine people, or also you don't want two completely masculine people that are, stoic and less emotional and more focused on strength.
Yeah, and that's I was gonna lead into that too. I think that's why it's hard. It can be hard on families that have single parents, because you can definitely have one, but it's a lot of stress to put on that parent to have to play both roles, and it puts them in a rough situation. So if they're lucky enough to be in a situation where the parents are adults about the situation and civil when they split up. But yeah, I totally agree that you need both. Whoever does it, you need that duality in your life, because you got to have, the joke is you can't have one without the other, or not necessarily joke, the saying. And it's just hard on people. I mean, as someone who's coming from a broken home, it's just a weird position to be in, because I was still getting both of them, but it's just a situation where you definitely need both.
Yeah, it's not the same, but it's not a cohesive unit working together.
And that's also not to say that it can't be done. Mm-hmm. It can definitely be done.
Oh yeah,
there's strong.
Every situation is so different.
Right. And, in terms of femininity, we kind of touched on it too with the nurturing. Again, it goes back to the idea of the masculinity, where nurturing is associated with it, and the gender role is that. But a father can absolutely be tender and nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that wasn't the case in my house. I know my dad had to be the disciplinarian, because my mom's threat was always wait until your dad gets home, and then I was terrified of my dad. So I was kidding. I love my dad. He was a great guy. But I was definitely worried, because he was the one who always had to spank me. What are you doing?
Fixing your shoe.
Ashley's fixing my sandal, apparently.
Derek says hi.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about let's talk about kind of what I was talking about earlier. The role, if we're going by traditional gender roles, everything that would, like I said earlier, our relationship's different. I'm the emotional one, she's a logical one. When we moved in together, she had the toolbox and not me. Can you believe that? I didn't even have a toolbox, and now she's over there.
I can totally believe that, because I know you.
She's trying to fix my flip-flop right now with super glue and a hammer.
The hammer is for weight, to keep it.
The hammer is to keep it sealed.
You would just throw
But-
it away.
That's what I'm trying to tell her. Well, she doesn't want me to wear my American flag flip-flop. She hates them. But but that's something I want to bring up, where how we perceive gender roles, where the idea is there has to be a power dynamic in a relationship. There has to be a dominant force. There has to be a more submissive force. There has to be the alpha, the beta. I personally don't think that's true, because if that were true, if that were true, Ashley's 100% the alpha, because she will always make more money than me, and she's yelling at me that she's the alpha right now. She's in the room too.
But my question would be, though, like, how you pretty much just said it was true, but then you said you didn't believe in it, that she is the alpha in your power dynamic. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, the relationship works. You guys are both very happy, and you're always, as long as there's a difference between being an alpha in a relationship and using that to take advantage of the other person. As long as you're working together, in my opinion, it's just like if somebody's a stay-at-home versus the other person's working. Just because the person's working is making all the money doesn't devalue the other person. It just means that they bring in that part of the relationship. Just like I know you do a lot for Ashley, and you love her a lot, so it's not like you don't contribute to the relationship.
Well,
I think as long as you're working towards the same goal, you got to think about it as you're both pulling something, not that you're fighting against each other. So it doesn't really matter who's pulling harder, because you're both pulling in the same direction.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was saying when we were off the air. Was it's if you look at it that way, if you look at alpha and beta, I don't necessarily think that you're looking at it the right way. I agree with what you're saying. It's a partnership.
Mm-hmm. And
however that works for the relationship is, it's different. Everybody's different. But how that's got to work is, you're right. You're on the same team. You're going for the same goal.
And every relationship's different. The whole alpha beta, it comes from wolf packs. You have the alpha male and then the beta male, and the alpha makes the primary decisions, and the beta follows and kind of leads the rest of the pack. And that they are all working together as a family in that case. So but every situation's so different. And I just want to say with gender roles, I think that we just need to shift the way that we're looking at it more than combating against gender roles, in that the way that masculinity and femininity have evolved, with our industrial open free market society, that men and women can trade some of these roles. The roles are still, it's more of the masculine role and the feminine role, but that doesn't necessarily have to be directly associated with your sex. But I think my whole point is that we shouldn't be completely, ignoring the fact that those roles are necessary in a lot of cases. It's just a little bit more fluid now.
So, okay, I can see where you're going with that. Are you saying that it's more of like the way that we look at it is, what happened?
I just realized I've been using my computer mic this whole time, because
oh boy.
I just looked over. I was like, wait a minute, that's not plugged in.
Well,
okay. All right, whatever.
We'll make it work. Yeah, so I kind of like what you're going with that. So are you saying that it's kind of like the idea of whatever the gender roles may be, let's look at it this way. These are just things that need to be done, and either one of us could do them. Say it's cooking, say it's cleaning, say it's dishes, or that sort of thing.
And you can share some responsibilities, but still, in most relationships, I think that it is going to be more defined. One person is more of the protector than the other person is, and one person might be more of the nurturer than the other person. And a good relationship is one where you have all the elements. And I just think that a lot of the talk about gender roles now is just completely just blowing it up. And what I'm just saying is that maybe we just need to change our view on it, the way that masculinity and femininity have changed in how they're a part of our society, that we need to change the way that we're looking at these roles.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it goes back to the idea that you're a team. When you're a team,
mm-hmm.
you play to every player's best strength. So when you're in a relationship, you just figure out what works for you guys, who has, who's better, everything. Ashley's great at everything, so I just kind of loaf around. She's great at everything, so I just make her laugh. That's essentially what I do.
Yep.
I make her laugh.
I like that.
And and I listen to her. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, she's like the big mob boss, and you're like the sidekick right next to her that like repeats everything she says and laughs.
Yeah, what she said.
She carries the team, but you're there.
Yeah, I've also found out that
you're like Blake Bortles in the playoffs last year.
Oh God,
you're there because you need a quarterback.
You gotta have somebody snap the ball. I go back to what I was saying earlier, where she's a logical one. So I feel like she's very logical about things. So I'm the guy that has to be like, who's always more emotional. So I'm the white guy that's yelling at them, like, I need to see the manager. Like, I'm always the one that displaces the rage about every situation. She's the one like, calm down. Let's think about this. Let's think how to get him later, because she holds a grudge. No, I'm kidding. She's just looking at me. That's why I'm saying these things. But yeah, it's all about balance. With anything in life, it's all about balance. It's all about figuring out how it works out.